Hey guys, it's Graham. Welcome back to Truckerman Reads. Had a really good haul for comics this week. I've had a couple in a row. Let's go through and see what we've got. G.I. Joe number 12 from the Energon universe. They've finally wrapped up that arc that they've been doing for the last couple of months with CoverGirl and the Baroness. Thought it was good. I did feel like it kind of dragged on for a while. We're getting back to formula here. Even in the very first page, Duke is meeting with Colonel Hawk, saying, "Hey, we haven't really checked in on those robots that started this whole thing off 2 years ago. I want to go look into that." Meantime, Beachhead gets sent out to rescue Shooter from a Russian prison. She's an elite sniper. This was really heavy on the action. The art was also a little bit crazy. Shooter's getting beat up by, I think that's a woman. Holy cow. But yeah, like the pacing was a lot more exciting. This seemed a little bit more self-contained, and there's one of these like kind of twists where here's why the character actually got imprisoned. And Shooter is a character that I'm not all that familiar with, but if you aren't, you can still get what you need from this issue. Like I've said before, I stopped reading Void Rivals, or at least I stopped buying them. I can still get the digital editions at the library. I feel like that one really dropped off and got boring. And I kind of slowed down for a minute on G.I. Joe, but it's gotten a lot more interesting. And this issue was a real solid return to form. There was kind of I guess silent is the wrong term, but a bit of a dialogue free close to the end of it that is supposed to lead into the Dreadnought War, which is going to be the next arc of Energon G.I. Joe books. So that one was good. I liked it. The new Captain America that started up on July 4th this year, or at least the week thereof. Issue 3 was a little bit of a calm down in terms of pacing and excitement. Issue 4 kicks it back up again. I said from the beginning that I got the impression that they were steering Captain Rogers and Major Colton into a beef with each other. Obviously, there was some friction, some separation of philosophy and stuff, and I feel like they were setting up Major Colton for a break. There's something that happens in this issue that really puts that into motion. I also liked that there was some emphasis on not just the different ethos of these two captains, but also a difference in methodology and technique. Um, Major Colton doesn't know how to throw the shield the same way that Steve does. He fights with it in a different way, and it's just one of many differences between him and Steve Rogers. Like this, he does know how to just charge with it, though, run into people. One complaint about this issue is it was really heavy on the ads. Like seriously, every other page was an ad. Hulk smash everything. Here's another bunch of X-Men titles. Look, that's a two-page spread. Two-page spread. Ad. Cool. Two-page spread. Ad. Like I counted them up. There's like a dozen of them in this one. It was really heavy on that one. You can tell that this is a popular title and that they're really trying to get the readers of it to jump into their other stuff. I didn't really see anything in it that grabbed my attention and said, "Hey, pick this up and read it." But the Captain America Zdarsky current run title, whatever, I like where it's going. I like what it's doing. Art's great. Just Marvel, ease up on the ads. Let us have more of the comic, please. Fantastic Four and Gargoyles. I didn't know if this was just going to be a one shot or a mini series or something. It seems like this is just kind of like a one off crossover issue. When I went to Free Comic Book Day back in May, my son got this one comic that was Demona. She's the main female gargoyle antagonist. I was a huge fan of Gargoyles when I was a little kid, and I've since picked up the DVDs and rewatched them with my boys. And they've gotten into that and into the comics. I didn't read that free Demona comic, but apparently it leads into this one. One thing that I liked is it sets off right in the beginning in Valencia, Spain, 1094. So 100 years after the pilot of the Gargoyles cartoon. If you're unfamiliar, the cartoon aired in 1994. So they say, 1,000 years ago in 994 in Scotland, the Gargoyles got betrayed by their human allies and they got cursed to be permanently frozen in stone until the castle ascended above the clouds. And then this esoteric millionaire, billionaire tech guru guy, Xanatos, found out about that legend, bought the castle and put it on top of his skyscraper in New York, and that broke the curse, and that's how the Gargoyles came awake in New York. The first season was really tight and really solid, and it was so successful that Disney's like, cool, give us 5 times as many episodes. We'll order a season 2, but you're going to go from 10 to 50 like now. And so they just started kind of greenlighting any idea that they had to fill that order, which from a monetary standpoint, I understand. From a creative standpoint, the series suffered and got really messy, but it seems like it's kind of gotten a second wind in these comics. In this continuity, then, the Gargoyles live on top of Xanatos' tower or in the clock tower, and the Fantastic Four are in the Baxter building across the way. And they end up dealing with a villain that is interested in both of them, which is all I want to say there. One kind of crossover that I didn't expect and that wasn't really advertised, though, is that Xanatos and Iron Man all not only know each other, but cross paths in this one as well. In the original show, Xanatos, uh, he had this like gargoyle version of the Iron Man suit. We'll say it was an exo frame that he could wear, but he would also have Steel Clan is what they were called, like android versions of the gargoyles. And Tony shows up with his Iron Man suit, and they beef over that. So there are multiple layers of overlap. There's this character here, Isaac Christian is his name. He's a gargoyle, but he's got a human soul inside him. He must be something from the new comic run or everything. I'm not familiar with all the gargoyle characters, but again, like if you're not completely caught up with it, everything everything that you need is in it. The cartoon was really like almost a Star Trek revival as well, because you had the voices of Riker, Data, Worf, and Troy in that one, and I might be forgetting one or two. As long as Disney keeps wanting to do like live action reboots of their old animated classics, I keep saying like, why not do Gargoyles, especially while Keith David and Jonathan Frakes are still alive. Now, granted, all these actors are in their 70s now, and you wouldn't want to just like hire their voice talents because then it defeats the purpose of doing a live action movie. But this was a great property. It's well loved. It is maybe a little bit more niche, but that gives them a chance to do something a little bit more tightly focused and with maybe better editing and stuff. And just do a single movie. Don't worry about like setting up a franchise like they always want to do. But in terms of my personal enjoyment right out of the gate, I also appreciated that in 1094. Demona is working for El Cid, but she's also crossing paths with some evil magician guy in Valencia, Spain, and he's speaking in Catalan, and they're translating it from Catalan. Unless you're familiar with the eastern side of the Iberian Peninsula, you're probably not going to be familiar with the Catalan language. It's a whole other can of worms. It would be kind of beyond the scope of what I'm doing here reviewing this comic, but I lived there for a while. I'm familiar with it, so it was a nice little little cherry on top for this one. But overall, this is a single shot, and it was pretty self-contained. And every once in a while, I like to grab a comic that like it'll do something for me, but it's also like my kids will like to read it, and so we can overlap there. And it was great for that. Ghost Pepper has been. I've picked up the first issue in July. This has been a real treat. It's a little bit choppy at times. The artist and the writer, I believe, or one of the two, is French, and sometimes if you as an American are unfamiliar with French writers, French cinematographers, or whatever, like they tend to do things at a different pace and with a kind of a different execution than you might be used to. It's hard to quantify. I haven't sat down and actually written it out, but it seems like every once in a while I'll watch something made by a French studio, or I'll read a book that was originally French, and like there's just this other quality that's kind of unique to it that I recognize here in Ghost Pepper. It's kind of a fantasy, kind of a sci-fi. There was some kind of like post-religious war. This guy here on the cover, the gray dude, his name is Ash, and I'm guessing that he's got a twin brother, a guy named Cinder, who was some kind of big bad during this big spiritual war, and he lost, and as a consequence of it, he got punted out to the moon. And there's a new series of rulers, a new government or something on the Earth. They haven't really said what the planet is. But this guy's supposed to be indestructible. Cinder is. That's why he's trapped on the moon. There's nothing there to feed him, but he can't die. But then this dude Ash, who's his brother or some relation of his, is back planet side, and the powers that be are scared of him. And he teams up with this character that I'm going to guess that her name is Loloi. It's spelled Loloi. And if there's a French pronunciation on that, it would be Loloi. She drives a food truck in this apocalyptic sci-fi wasteland place, and in the first issue, Ash takes up with her. But then this bad dude here is trying to chase her down, and he hires some big bad henchman dude. Like the art style, it's so weird and so unique, but it's so cool. At the end of the last issue, he knocked over Loloa's food truck, and now Ash gets out to fight him. And this dude, he's some kind of living weapon, and the bad guy controls him. Toggle, step on it, and he gets all big and everything. And then when the bad guy powers him up, hang on, I want to try to find one of these here. Like he gets the big like Pacific Rim rocket arms, and he's trying to fight Ash, but Ash is basically Superman, and they're kind of fighting to a standstill while Lolois is watching. There were a couple of story beats in this one where the humor got a little bit dumb and a little bit like, oh, this is what was really going on. I was like, okay, like that takes it down a notch. They were going for comedy with this little like side villain that they're facing, and it wasn't as maybe intense as things that were being set up in the first 3 issues. It's still fine. It was a big tonal change, but man, I love this art style and the way that it's coming together, and the way that the world building and the history are slowly being revealed with each issue. I also kind of like the consistency of the color palette. Each issue is generally this, but you get different flavors of it depending on if you're indoors, outdoors, if you're in the wasteland, if you're in what passes currently for civilization. It's so unique and executed so well, and there's this intangible quality to it, a je ne sais quoi, you might say, that I find really endearing. And so I'm glad I picked up the preview guide that talked about this one over the summer, and that I added it to my list. It's been really enjoyable. So those are my pickups for this week. I haven't checked what all I've got for next week, but I assume it'll all be just as good and enjoyable. So having a great time with comics, man. It's been really fun to get into the weekly pickup phase of this hobby. Like I said, over the years throughout my life, like I would occasionally find out about a series that had already come out, and I'd pick up the trade paperbacks, or I'd grab graphic novels here and there. But it wasn't until 2 years ago when Energon Universe kicked off, because I'm a huge Transformers fan, that I was like, it'd be fun to just finally go down to a local comic book store. I've got one here in my hometown, and open up a pull file for once and like actually collect single issues instead of waiting for the trades. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this hobby. It's just great. So check out any of these titles or ask me a question if you've in the comments if you've got any. And by all means, remember my book Fossil Force comes out this month on the 29th. It's a boys' adventure novel, kind of a middle grade age thing. You can check the link in the description. Find the Amazon page, and you can pre-order that on Kindle. The paperback link will go live. That'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is over on Substack. You can become a paid subscriber. I don't do that over here on YouTube. Over there, it's $5 a month, but you get a big discount if you just back it for the whole year. Or you can go check the link in the description to my Amazon page. Buy one of my books. Read it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Drive safe. See you out there.